All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. We have Melissa Does with us, who is a clinical director at Cultivate Counseling here in Flagstaff. Melissa, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing, Adam?
Doing okay. Hanging in there.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining us on this video today and taking the time to talk to our audience and our community in Flagstaff about Cultivate Counseling and what it is that you all offer, and we're going to even jump into some of the best practices that you recommend for our community a little bit later in this video. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Melissa, why don't you tell us a little bit about Cultivate Counseling and the work you do?
yeah. So Cultivate is a group counseling practice. We have 11 therapists on staff. We just brought some new ones on, and we're located just north of downtown on Hunt and Humphreys. So right now we mostly offer individual counseling. We do have a perinatal therapy group for prenatal and postpartum moms. We're actually getting ready to add a couple other group options, which we're excited about. But mostly we do individual counseling with people. We accept United and Blue Cross Blue Shield insurances. And we just added kind of a reduced psychotherapy service option to our practice, which will be $40 a session. We're really excited about this option for people that don't have health insurance, that have been furloughed due to COVID, that are financially impacted. We're hoping that this can really increase availability of services and mental health services for our community. And we're actively scheduling new clients right now for that. So we're really excited about that new option. We mostly, I would say, we're trauma specialists above anything else. We do a lot of trauma work with people. We do a lot of work around anxiety, depression, life transitions, parenting, postpartum. We work with teens, 14 and up. So yeah, I would say we see a wide range of stuff, but yeah, we love the ability to serve our community in this way. It's exciting work, and it's work that we're all really passionate about. So we're happy to be here.
That's awesome, Melissa. And I really am excited that you are talking about available opportunities for the public to sign on to and join.
Yeah.
That being said, I know that your practice isn't currently open in terms of this physical location, although you are still operating 100%. Can you talk a little bit about your current operations in this time of COVID?
Yeah. So starting mid-March, we transitioned everything to telemedicine. So we're within a kind of HIPAA compliant video platform that's built within our electronic health system that we use here. And so we're seeing all of our clients via video or via phone. We don't have a set date we're planning on returning to the office, but I'd imagine sometime in the future. But for now, we are, continuing at full capacity on video, though.
And Melissa, something you and I talked about offline was, some of these practices that the community can start doing to, that today is a very heightened time for everyone, and people are feeling stressed, they're feeling exhausted, they're feeling overworked and overwhelmed, they're feeling, dehydrated. It's just exhausting on the whole system, and I can be a case example for that. I think we all are really, but can you talk a little bit about that and what you're seeing and what you're recommending for the community at large?
Yeah. I often explain to clients that trauma is a normal response to an abnormal experience. And so anything that you're feeling is normal, because this is kind of an abnormal experience that we're all going through right now. I would say the things that we're seeing most is like utter exhaustion, even though people are like, I'm not leaving my house or I'm not going into the office. We're feeling more tired than we ever have been before. And there's like neurobiological reasons for that, right? Our brains are constantly trying to process what's happening when we have competing information coming at us. We have, openings coming in some places and not openings coming in other places. Like, it's a lot for our minds to try to really understand and wrap our heads around. And so that part, it can be exhausting in and of itself. It's just the amount of information that we're trying to take in right now. I read this really fascinating article last week about how exhausting it is to do video calls all day long. So I see sometimes 8 or 9 clients a day. So I'm on a video call, and I was reading about how this like disembodied connection, right? We're
Mm.
not meant to connect to each other from our torso up. We're meant to like have body language and to see
Right.
each other's feet and to be like resonating with each other in person. And so just the fact that we're all, or many of us are working via video, not all of us, but many of us are working via video can be totally exhausting for our minds. That there's a reason why you feel so much more tired at the end of a day with all video meetings than in-person meetings.
Mm.
I told one client, I was like, your homework for today is to Google, why am I so tired during the pandemic? And I was like, there's literally hundreds of like scientific research articles like normalizing that experience right now. I think we're all feeling really lonely. We're feeling isolated. Um, Parents are feeling overwhelmed. I have 2 young kids. I'm like, I didn't sign up to be a teacher. Right now, I'm my child's teacher. Right? There's
Wow.
all these new dynamics that are present in our lives that are brand new that we don't know how to navigate. And we can't, kind of the expectations we place on ourselves, I think is really an important thing to look at right now. When I think about what can we do, right? How can we keep going? Because I think the thing with COVID that I know is exhausting for me is usually with a trauma, it happens, but then it's over and we get to do
Mm.
the recovery and the building, right? The thing about this trauma that's different is it hasn't ended yet. And that's why it can be really difficult to feel like you can get on top of how you're doing with it, is because it's an ongoing experience.
Mm.
So I think like prioritizing movement every day. And I tell clients, like, I care about movement. I don't care about exercise. So that can be walking. That could be 5 minutes of stretching in your living room. That can be hopping on your bike.
Yeah.
I think we have such a gift in Flagstaff that we get to be in this beautiful place and we can access trails within minutes to most places in this town. Um, so finding ways to get your body outside is huge. Like vitamin D is a big part of anxiety and depression, is what
Mm.
your vitamin D levels are. So getting sun every day, getting out every day is huge. Like you said, dehydration, like how much water we're drinking. Sometimes clients think these are really basic things, but sometimes the most basic things are the things that actually have the biggest impact on how our mental health presents. Sleep, obviously, is huge. As much as we can get a normal amount of sleep, I know many people I'm talking to are staying up much later than they're used to and starting their day much later than they're used to because they
Mm.
can, but then they're also feeling like, oh, I'm just out of it. So maintaining routines is really important, as close to like a normal routine as possible.
Melissa, talk to me more about sleep. How, I think a lot of us with our phones and, all the light and stimulus from our phones and our screens
Yeah,
really kind of affect our sleep patterns and cycles and our ability to go to sleep. Uh,
absolutely.
what would you recommend for folks?
Yeah. I mean, we often talk about like good sleep hygiene. So, like, what are you doing the hour before you go to sleep? If you're
Right.
on New York Times reading articles about COVID, you're not going to get a good night's sleep, right? Your brain is like cycling. And I know it's like, oh, yeah, but it's like we all know that. But then that's also what most of us are doing.
Right.
So it's like finding that balance of like, how do I like create buffers and spaces for myself in the time before I go to sleep, not just right when I go to sleep. So,
Hmm.
that hour before is really kind of this critical point that sets you up for how your night of sleep is going to go. So there's tons of amazing apps for like sleep meditations or sleep yoga, like 10-minute practices you can do in your living room to kind of wind down, prepare your body for sleep. Thinking about what you're eating right before you go to sleep, what you're drinking in the evening, like all those little things can really add up to how our sleep goes. Um, so yeah, I would say like if we can, creating that buffer of 1 hour before we go to sleep without technology, that's ideal. And I know that's really hard for people. So I say let's start with 10 minutes. Let's start with 20 minutes where we're not just looking at our phone in bed, setting it down and trying to close our eyes. It's creating a really big challenge for our brain. It's asking a lot of it to just be able to like shut down when we're kind of engaging until the last minute. Trying to create a space when you first wake up too, even 5 minutes before you grab your phone. We're just so accustomed to
Right.
being tethered to our phones, and I think right now it's the way we connect to others, but it can feel like a disconnected connection, right? It's not like a full human connection. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think finding opportunities to like access a little bit more of that, you know, face-to-face connection that we can in safe ways, like with our partners, making sure we're not both sitting on the couches looking at our phone at night, or um, with a friend. You know, I've seen a lot of people do like parking lot picnics where you're both in the back of your car, like 10 feet apart, but you're at least like resonating in the same space with people.
Right.
Um,
So talk to me more about that topic of connection. What kind of connection practices would you recommend?
yeah. I mean, you know, what's been really interesting is as in the last few weeks, I've moved to doing more phone connection with people and less video, and people find it actually more fulfilling. And they often have reported feeling better after we talk on the phone versus
Hmm.
doing video. Um,
Really?
there's something about like, you know, one thing I read was like, we're not meant to like maintain this consistent of eye contact. Like when we're hanging out with each other, we're not like staring into each other's eyes, right? Like, but video, it's like you feel like you have to like really do that. And so like
Right.
that can be really exhausting for our brains. And so the phone, we get to like naturally let our eyes wander. We get to naturally like move. So I've been doing, for myself personally, I've been doing lots of like walk and talks with friends. Like,
Mm.
let's both go on a walk in the forest and call each other. And so then we get to be in a natural environment together, but then we also get to be moving our bodies together. And it's created a lot more connection for me of feeling like I'm with people versus FaceTime calls, which feel like, for me, feel exhausting. Like there's just another level of trying to be with someone, but also be on the phone and
Right.
navigating my environment. So I've been encouraging people like try to do more phone connection and
Mm.
um, less video if possible. I think, yeah, getting creative about the ways that you see people. I love like the drive-by birthday parties, or, you know, something that's important in my family with my kids is we try to think of someone we want to go leave a card for in their mailbox. So usually once a day we write a card for someone, and it gives us a reason to leave our house. We get to go leave it for our friend in their mailbox. You know, they feel connected to. So just those little opportunities we have for like staying with each other, even if we can't physically be together, I think
That-
is huge, you know.
what advice do you have for families? I know it's a huge
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah. I mean, I think getting outside as much as possible is huge. I think being gracious and kind to yourself as parents is huge. This is we shouldn't have to like know how to parent in a pandemic, teach in a pandemic, work in a pandemic, like cook in a like we, you
Sleep
know,
pandemic.
yeah, like we don't know how to do this many things, and we've never tried to take on this many roles at one time.
Right.
We've never been asked to parent without help. You know, for me, I'm like, there's a reason I have a village. It's because I don't have every gift that my child needs. Other
Mhm.
people have gifts they need to, and I really value like what their teacher brings and what their gymnastics coach brings. And so I'm trying to now fill all those roles. It's exhausting and it's hard. So I think giving a lot of space for that is important. I heard someone say, if you can't give yourself a break during a pandemic, when will you be able to? So just that like level of self-compassion is, I think, is huge right now. We can be really hard on ourselves that it should look a certain way. But none of us have ever done this before, right? There's no parenting on a pandemic book. Like there's
Right.
nowhere, we've never done this. So it's to not know what we're doing or to feel really lost some days makes a whole lot of sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um, Melissa, thank you so much for all this information. Any closing thoughts or words of wisdom you'd like to share in closing?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't prepare a closing statement. I think just the kindness to yourself is huge right now, and moving your body. Like if you can hold those two things in your day, like being kind to yourself and moving your body as much as possible, I think you're going to be in a lot better shape. So, and reaching out, like we're here to support the community. There's lots of other great therapists in town. Mental health matters to everyone, right? Like we all need our own mental health support. I don't think any of us are above that or outside of needing that support. And having someone to talk to right now can be a great outlet to say, my husband is so annoying right now, and to feel like you have someone else to get to process that with, who's
Right.
a neutral person. The thing I love about counseling is I get to be a neutral party, and not, I'm not part of your life. I get to be, unbiased and neutral in hearing you. And I think it's so important to have people like that in our lives. So
It
yeah.
is, and we rely on our families and friends to be that in a lot of ways. But there is a very strong value for that third party individual who isn't part of the dynamics of the drama to a degree.
Yeah.
And so for folks in the community, definitely reach out for help. There's great
Yeah.
groups like Melissa's organization and many others in the community. Get the help you need. Get over the ego that's holding you back. The
Yeah.
help will help you, and it'll help your loved ones. It'll help everything about your life.
Mm.
And especially during this tough time, I think we all could use some extra help.
Yeah.
So thank you, Melissa, for all that you're doing for our community, and your team
Yeah.
is wonderful,
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. It was great to be here.
Yeah.